Access. I'm Ken.
And I'm Nicole.
And we're doing Jonah today.
Yay!
Yay, Jonah! Often if people know kind of anything from the Old Testament, they often know the story of Jonah getting swallowed by the whale or the fish. I hate to tell you, but Hebrew, it's probably not a whale that he gets swallowed by, but a fish. But you can keep thinking it's a whale, because there's no need to be that accurate, right? I'm doing the history of it, right?
Yep.
So, history of Jonah as a book. One thing, it's not a normal prophetic book.
Right.
Most of the books of the prophets, we actually hear from the prophet themselves. They are speaking to us in the first person. In this case, it is a book about another prophet, like Jonah. The other thing is that it is probably written kind of like Daniel, after these events, probably occur. Because the context in Jonah itself is the Northern Kingdom time period when Jonah's being called to go into Assyria, to the capital of Assyria called Nineveh. So it's kind of back in that 8th century period. But we're confident that it is written far later, and it's in the exilic period. So, or the post-exilic. So we're out of exile and we're kind of back in the land. And I hope this isn't going too much into the thematic part of it, but what's so important about that is that if you remember back to Ezra and Nehemiah, it had that very uncomfortable exclusion of the non-Jews, and it has this sort of superiority, problem, right? Jonah gives us the full opposite view, where the only bad guy in this story is the Jew.
Is
Jonah.
Yeah.
Everyone else, the outsiders, the riffraff, they're the great people in this book.
Everyone else is obedient.
Yes. Everybody but, the ones who should be. And so for a church, the view here should be, the pastors are idiots. The church members are self-righteous and sanctimonious, and it's all the other people, the outsiders. They're the ones who are actually doing what they should be doing. That's what Jonah is about, and it complexifies that post-exilic time with this identity problem of us and them. Anything more about history, do you think?
I don't think so. Let's go on to themes.
Hit me with the themes.
So there's this theme of who's actually righteous, who's doing what they should be doing, and it's the outsiders. So we're going to see that. We'll talk more about it in the stories. I think we've covered that theme. The other theme that I really like, and it's not very artfully said, but God does what God's going to do. Like, you can't fight the man. Not saying that God's the man. Or is male or anything. But you can't fight God's will, And I feel like that, especially for us as being Presbyterians and Reformed, that's a theme that's going to echo in the Reformation, in our particular theological tradition.
Sure, and in this sense, God is doing something that Jonah is not happy about.
Right.
And, I think it bears saying, I think this is one of the most misunderstood books. Because most people hear what Nicole's saying is that, God has God's ways, and, we don't get them. Pastors, I always hear, like seminarians, this is their favorite text, where people go around the circle, and they say, what's your favorite Bible text? And little seminarians go, oh gosh, I just love Jonah. And they always say things like, because, I didn't want to go into ministry, I wanted to be an investment banker, or something, but the Lord just kept pursuing me. And like, yes, because you flunked out of MBAs. They don't do that.
No.
But there's the sense that, Jonah just kept resisting God, because Jonah had, bigger and better plans in ministry, but then God sucked Jonah into the ministry. And I think that is a wrong-headed, idiot understanding of Jonah.
I think so.
What's actually going on is that Jonah is a sanctimonious jerk. And God has this idea that salvation can go even
Right.
the Ninevites, the Assyrians,
Yeah.
and says, Jonah, you go and give that message.
Mhm.
And Jonah goes, I don't want to do that, God.
I know.
Not because he's fleeing ministry.
No.
No, he absolutely knows.
But he wants to stay in his cushy position.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to offer salvation to
Right.
the Israelites or to the non-Israelites because he knows that they might listen and then God will have mercy on them. And he doesn't want that.
No, and I think it's great, like, this idea of we don't get to pick who gets God's grace.
Yes. And Jonah is absolutely someone who he sort of knows this about God. But he resists it and he fights it.
He thinks, like, if I just don't say it, then God can't do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big mistake. And what a word to the church when we so much want to say, saved, not saved, good,
it's like
bad.
duck, duck, goose with,
Whereas
save.
Save, damn.
In fact, well, no, when I was in seminary, we had friends who went to go see a preacher, and it became legendary on our campus because the guy was going around going, "There's a sinner here," and all my friends were like, "It's me, he's gonna pick me." He didn't like, "It's you," but he should have because we all like, "Yeah, it is him."
I saw him last Friday. It's him.
But that's the sense of when the church starts pointing our fingers. Jonah is then the book to read.
Yes.
Because the whole point of this is that the people who think they're in are actually in this particular book, in the book of Jonah, they're the ones that are outside of God's love, mercy in this case.
Well, I would say that they're the ones who are resistant to it because. Even though he's fighting against God, he's still not outside of God's mercy and grace.
Rightly put.
That we just don't get to choose.
Yes.
Or decide or put limits on where God can act. And that's a hopeful word.
Yes. Oh, very much. We love Jonah's a book for our people today.
Yeah, it's hopeful but so challenging, as I think all hope should be challenging. So it's great. Let's move on to the stories.
All right, the stories. I think we start out with the sailors, do we not? We do indeed. The faithless Hebrew prophet Jonah and the righteous pagan sailors. We start out where God tells Jonah, go to Nineveh. And Jonah knows, if I go and I preach, they might listen and God will love them. And so Jonah doesn't want to offer that grace. And so he flees to Tarshish. Now the commentators, I heard a lovely sermon on this. We don't know where Tarshish is.